There's a quiet kind of loss that comes with age. Not dramatic, not loud, but persistent. It doesn't announce itself with alarms or diagnoses. It begins with something as small as feeling winded after tying your shoes, or realizing the jar that once opened easily now resists your grip. Most people don't talk about it, but you might have felt it. The slow fading of strength. The legs that once carried you with confidence now hesitate at the bottom of the stairs. The arms that held your children, lifted groceries, worked the soil, now ask for rest more often. It's not weakness, it's not failure, it's muscle loss, and it creeps in quietly when no one is watching. But here's the truth, no one ever told us. Muscle loss after 60 isn't just about aging. It's not inevitable like gray hair or laugh lines. It's about neglect, not on purpose, but by circumstance. We stop asking effort from the body, and the body, with all its loyalty, begins to adapt. Muscles don't vanish overnight. They retreat slowly, respectfully, when they're no longer called upon. There's a word for this process, sarcopenia. But names aren't what matter here. What matters is the experience. The subtle shrinking of motion, the stairs that feel heavier, the walk that takes longer, the strength you once had, now more memory than fact. And yet, and this is where everything changes, it doesn't have to stay that way. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, a Japanese physician who lived beyond 100 years, believed in what he called living light, not just in mind, but in body. He didn't retire at 65. He didn't stop moving because of age. He walked, he climbed stairs, he carried his own bag, not because it was easy, but because he knew that mobility is not a gift. It's not luck. It's something we build, every day, one choice at a time. And modern science now affirms what the ancients lived, without needing studies to prove. Dr. Peter Attia, one of the world's leading voices in longevity, reminds us, the goal isn't just lifespan, it's health span. And nothing protects health span more than preserving muscle, not for beauty, not for strength competitions, but for dignity, for the ability to stand without help, to get off the floor, to pick up your grandchild, to live fully, without fear of falling. This video is not a list of exercises or another lecture on protein. It's an invitation, a quiet invitation to reclaim what's still yours, to understand the subtle habits that steal your strength, and the gentle, natural actions that can bring it back. No pills, no gym memberships, just the body you have and the life it still wants to live. It doesn't always begin with illness. In fact, for most people, muscle loss begins in comfort. That quiet, familiar comfort of soft chairs, of elevators that replace stairs, of days that ask little from the body. We think of comfort as a reward, as something we've earned after a life of work, and perhaps we have. But comfort, when it becomes the default, sends a message to the muscles, you're no longer needed. And muscles, so loyal, so responsive, begin to leave. It might start with a chair that helps you up, one with arms that makes rising easier. Then a lift, because climbing feels tiring. Soon the body forgets what it once did every day without effort. And slowly, without pain, without warning, strength slips away, not because of age, but because of stillness. The body is wise, but it's also efficient. If a muscle isn't being used, it's considered excess. It takes energy to maintain, and so it begins to soften, to shrink, to fade. It's not betrayal, it's biology. Muscles speak a language, the language of challenge, of resistance. If we stop speaking to them in that language, they sleep. And yet, in some places, the language is still alive. In Okinawa, elders don't use recliners. They sit on the floor. They rise several times a day using only their own strength. No gym, no machines, just tradition. That small motion, rising from the floor, is a message to the body. Stay alert, stay strong, stay ready. It's not exercise. It's life, lived with gentle resistance. There is something powerful in small efforts. You don't need to lift weights or run marathons. But what if, instead of sitting to tie your shoes, you squatted down like you once did? What if you stood while talking on the phone, walked the hallway while the kettle boiled, reached for a book on the bottom shelf without hesitation? They seem like nothing, but they are everything. Because each time you ask a little more from your muscles, they hear you. They wake up. They respond. Muscles are not made in silence. They are made in movement. And movement is still within your reach. There's something gentle and familiar about a quiet breakfast. A piece of toast, a cup of tea, maybe a bit of fruit. It feels light, clean, even virtuous. Many of us were raised to believe that heavy meals early in the day were unnecessary, even harmful, that a small breakfast showed discipline, that a full plate was only for those who labored in the fields. But the body after 60 is not the body of youth. It has different needs, quieter hungers, and one of the deepest is protein, especially in the morning. What few people know is that your muscles don't grow while you're moving. They grow during repair, and that repair process, called muscle protein synthesis, is at its strongest early in the day. Right after you wake, your body is primed to receive building blocks. But if what you offer it is only a biscuit or a banana, the foundation begins to crack, slowly but surely. In youth, you could skip meals and recover easily, but with age, the threshold for maintaining muscle rises. Science now shows that older adults need more protein, and specifically more leucine, to trigger the same repair that a younger body achieves effortlessly. Without it, the body begins to take what it needs from itself, and it starts with the muscles. Think of your muscles as a house. Every morning they need bricks. If no bricks are delivered, the house doesn't just stop growing. It begins to weaken. And that weakness doesn't show up as pain. It shows up as fragility, a stumble, a moment of imbalance, that sense that your legs don't catch you the way they used to. But nourishment is still possible, not through powders or promises, but through real food. A couple of eggs, a bowl of Greek yogurt, a scoop of warm lentils, even a small portion, if it comes early, carries power. Because what you offer your body in the morning doesn't just feed your energy, it protects your structure. It keeps the frame of your life standing strong. Skipping protein is not just skipping a meal. It's skipping the very thing your muscles are quietly asking for. And if you listen, truly listen, you may find that strength begins with what's on your plate before the day even starts. There's a certain quiet after lunch, a stillness that settles into the room, into the limbs, into the mind. It feels natural, even comforting. But within that stillness, something else is happening, something unnoticed. As the hours of immobility stretch on, the body begins to slow, not just in energy, but in function. The blood doesn't flow as freely. The nutrients from your meal, meant to nourish, to repair, struggle to reach where they're needed most. And so, without pain, without noise, recovery is delayed. Muscles, once waiting for their share of repair, are left unfed. It's not laziness. It's routine. After a certain age, the world begins to sit more. We sit to read. We sit to rest. We sit to wait for the afternoon to pass. But long hours of sitting, especially after meals, change the way your body processes the very nutrients you work to include. The flow slows down. Insulin, which helps usher nutrients into muscle cells, becomes less effective. And without that efficiency, strength continues to erode, quietly, invisibly. But here lies the beautiful truth. The body doesn't ask for much. Not long walks or difficult exercises. Just a gentle reminder that you are still here, still moving, still willing. Research now shows that even 2 minutes of motion, a short walk, a stretch, a sway of the hips, can restart the process. 2 minutes to reduce the markers of atrophy. 2 minutes to tell your body, keep going. In the blue zones, places where people live the longest with the most vitality, no one talks about fitness. There are no routines, no sets, no repetitions, but there is movement, always. Gardens to tend, water to carry, friends to visit on foot. Their motion is woven into life, not scheduled into blocks. And so their muscles stay awake, because the body is still part of the day's rhythm. Stillness, too, has its place. Rest is sacred, but rest is not the same as surrender. And movement doesn't need to be grand. A hand stretched overhead, a twist at the waist, a few slow steps while waiting for the tea to brew. In those small acts, the body hears something powerful. It hears, I am still alive. I am still needed. I am still capable of repair. There's a sentence that echoes in many hearts as the years pass. It's too late for me. Not always spoken aloud, but deeply felt. After a fall, after a diagnosis, after the stares begin to intimidate, the belief settles in quietly that once strength is lost, it can never return. That age has closed a door. But what if that door is still open? What if the body remembers more than we give it credit for? Science now tells us what many elders have always known deep down. The body remembers. Deep inside the muscle cells, there's something called epigenetic memory, a kind of cellular wisdom. If you were once strong, even years ago, your body keeps a trace of that strength, a pattern, a readiness to rebuild. And even if the muscles have softened, the memory remains, waiting. It's why those first movements, no matter how small, feel strangely familiar. A leg lift beside the bed, a hand pressed against the wall, a slow curl of the arms using the weight of soup cans. At first, they may seem insignificant, but to the body, they are a spark, a call to return, because the pathways that built strength before are still there. Like old trails through a forest, overgrown but not forgotten, there was a woman, quiet, determined, in her 70s, who found herself avoiding stairs. She had stopped trusting her knees, and each step filled her with doubt. But every morning, before her coffee, she began doing 8 simple squats. Not deep, not fast, just consistent. And in 3 weeks, the stairs no longer felt like a threat. Her muscles had not vanished. They had simply gone quiet. And now, they were awake again. This isn't a miracle. It's biology. Muscles respond to repetition. They respond to care. They respond to intention, especially when it comes from a place of self-respect rather than punishment. So if the thought has ever crossed your mind, it's too late for me. Know this, your body is still listening. It has not given up. It is waiting, not for youth to return, but for you to return, to remind it of the strength it once carried, to invite that strength back home. Because muscles never truly forget. They simply wait to be remembered. There's a moment, usually quiet, when we begin to wonder if the body has moved beyond our reach. It's not dramatic. There's no announcement. It's in the small things, like feeling hesitant before standing from the couch, or noticing how the arms no longer carry the same strength they once did. And somewhere between these moments, a thought takes root. Maybe this is just what happens now. It's easy to believe that muscle loss is an irreversible part of aging, that the slope is only downward from here. After all, no one told us otherwise. Most health advice becomes quieter with age, or more distant, more technical. We hear about medications, appointments, risks, but not about strength, not about what it means to still have power inside us, not about what the body is still capable of, quietly, patiently, if we begin to listen again. Because muscle loss after 60 is not only a result of time, it is also a result of silence. The silence of movement no longer asked for. The silence of a breakfast that doesn't nourish repair. The silence of hours spent still while the body waits for a signal to respond. That signal doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be complicated. But it does need to be consistent. And it needs to come from you. There is something deeply dignified in choosing to care for a body that has carried you for decades. A body that has endured injury, grief, change, work, and celebration. It has adjusted to loss. It has learned to move differently. It has absorbed more than words could ever express. And now, as its strength begins to dim, it's not asking for perfection. It's asking for partnership. Strength in later life is not about building muscle for appearance. It's about restoring the ability to live on your own terms, to carry groceries without assistance, to walk into the garden and return without needing to pause, to kneel and rise again, to reach into a high cabinet, not because someone told you to do an exercise, but because you want your favorite mug. These are the movements that matter. These are the ones that give shape to freedom. Too often, older adults are told to expect decline, to accept fragility. But what if we've been expecting the wrong thing? What if the body still longs to respond, even if the signals have been faint for years? The truth is, muscle doesn't disappear overnight, and it doesn't leave without offering a chance to return. Even after long periods of inactivity, even after illness or emotional strain, the memory of strength remains. And memory, in the body, is powerful. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara lived to 105, not by chasing youth, but by honoring his body's capacity for movement. He walked, he climbed stairs, he avoided unnecessary ease, not to prove a point, but because he understood that stillness, when practiced daily, can become a slow surrender. And motion, even the simplest kind, is a reminder that life is still asking something of us. Dr. Peter Attia speaks from another perspective, not of tradition, but of science. Yet his message echoes the same truth, that strength is our insurance. Insurance against falls, against dependence, against the shrinking of our world. The muscle we preserve today is the resilience we rely on tomorrow. It's the difference between needing help and choosing help, between limitation and possibility. What stands in the way is not usually pain. It's belief, the belief that we've waited too long, that the body has forgotten how. That restoration is reserved for those who began earlier. But nothing could be further from reality. The body responds to intention at any age. Its cells don't measure years. They respond to signals. And those signals can begin with something as small as a few slow movements, a warm breakfast with protein, a decision to stand up without using the arms of the chair. There was a time when we didn't need to think about these things, when motion was automatic, when strength was a given. But now each act of movement becomes a message of love, not loud, not flashy, but profound in its consistency. The choice to move again, to nourish again, to stand a little taller. It is a way of saying, I am still here, I still matter. Muscle is not just flesh. It is capacity, it is autonomy, it is dignity. It holds our posture upright, keeps our steps steady, and allows us to be present in our own homes, in our own skin. And yet, it asks for so little in return. Not heroics, not extremes, just attention, just a willingness to begin. And beginning is enough. You don't need a perfect routine. You don't need special clothing or equipment or a schedule marked with alarms. What you need is to notice what the body is asking for and answer gently. Every time you choose to reach, rise, lift, or nourish, you are writing a new message into your muscles. You are telling them, I still need you. I still trust you. Let's begin again. The stairs may still be steep. The jars may still resist, but over time something quiet changes. The legs feel more certain. The arms hold a little longer. The breath steadies itself. And one day, without announcement, you realize that you've come back to yourself. Because aging does not mean the end of strength. It means a shift in how that strength is built. Slowly, gently, and with great care. The strength of today may not match the strength of 30 years ago, but it is no less real, no less valuable, no less worthy of being protected. So here we are, at the end of this conversation, and perhaps at the beginning of something else. Not a transformation, not a reinvention, but a return to motion, to nourishment, to the quiet dignity of effort. One step, one breath, one gentle movement at a time. You are not broken, you are not too late, and your body, even now, is waiting for your attention. It is still capable of rebuilding. It is still capable of responding. And it still remembers how to be strong.